to go where only some designers have gone before, the holy grail of free resource, the video version of just Google it, YouTube. The best place to spread my message of, you know, there's a neat trick to solve that problem that you've been having, and of course to go along with the spammy but catchy, well, I've got the solution for you. Today's video will focus on my journey to starting a YouTube channel, the reasons why I did it, and the realization that there's just so much fuzz around my skills that really shouldn't exist. Hi, I'm Dara M, a product designer looking to share my creative skills with those outside of the creative field. As mentioned already, today's video will focus on why I started a YouTube channel and what you can get out of it to make your life that little bit better, so make sure that you like and subscribe to my channel. I make no promises on big changes, but miracles do happen to those who make it to the end of at least one of my videos. So there are 4 parts to this journey of mine. First, realizing the problem, followed by the turning point for me where I realized I needed to do something about this, taking the plunge to make that difference, and finally coming up with what I will be delivering. So let's get started. The main reason that I started this whole thing in the first place, the first thing that got me thinking about this, there are so many people out there doing things because that's just the way they've always done it, and this has led to a lot of problems. There is a lot of inefficiencies to the way things are done by people who have this mindset. And essentially that has led to a lot of problems such as broken down relationships, the collapse of companies and businesses, teams falling out, and this has resulted in some really bad decision making. And I realized while I was going through all of these problems, so I think I was in a meeting room that was it just kept dragging on and it felt kind of dumb. The things that were being talked about, the decisions that were being made, nobody in the room was in agreement, and I realized that I have the skills to actually make a difference here, and these skills aren't just restricted to just a designer. These can be taken on by anybody. This can be a manager, it could be a salesperson, it could be a CEO, it could be anybody that's in the business, it could be a marketing exec, it could be even an intern could take these skills on. It doesn't need to be just the designer. The skills that I picked up are really around facilitation, around workshopping, and just better decision making essentially, and better problem solving, and making sure that when you actually make a decision that you can stick to it or you can learn from it. These skills don't need to be on specific tasks that designers do, like figuring out a UX flow or where a button on a website might land. I want to pass on skills so people can better their life and they can break away from that mold of that's just the way it's always been and that's just the way we're just going to live with it. It doesn't have to be like that, and I really want to get that message out. That, of course, led me on to the next phase, which was finally the turning point for me, and what was the piece that kind of drew me into YouTube as the way to go. Because again, there are many things I was trained in webinars, I could build a website for this, I could attempt to write a book. I'm not very good at writing though, so that was a bit of a bust on that. So what was it about YouTube that called to me? Well, ultimately, it actually happened during the pandemic. So the pandemic has been pretty bad for quite a lot of things, but there are goods and silver linings to every story or every impact, and I would like to say that this is one of them. Before the pandemic, I rarely watched YouTube. I used it as a how-to, or if I was stuck on something, or if something broke and I needed to just figure out a quick way that Google couldn't quickly tell me. And during the pandemic, I decided to switch away from Netflix and look more into YouTube and see what's on there, because it's the biggest platform on the planet. It's got to be useful, right? I was looking around trying to find just some educational kind of pieces, better ways to upskill, to better learn. And I found channels like Ali Abdaal's, MKBHD's, Vox, and I realized that this is genius. These guys are passing on their content, they're sharing their opinions, they're sharing their views that are there to make life better for someone else. They're to help make people make better choices. And I thought this was amazing. I was like, this is it. This is how I can do it. This is how I can share with anybody like you who want to learn what I know. And while watching these guys, I went, why can't I do this? I could do this, no problem. I talk to people every single day. I have to host workshops. I'm surrounded by people all the time. I'm constantly looking at a camera. So it seemed like a natural transition for me, and YouTube seemed to be the perfect medium. It was quick to set up, it's a simple way to put out a message, and to me, if it didn't work, it didn't work. The third stage of this was actually taking the plunge, because with anybody that sets up kind of a YouTube channel, kind of has that moment of, oh, what am I doing? And I went through some sort of big ups on the advantages and the greatness that all this could be, and all the help that I could provide to people, and all the changes and all the pointless meetings that would be cancelled, and time, the greatest resource ever, will be returned to people and we can live happier lives. To the downs, which are more, oh, what if no one watches this? What if the content isn't good enough? What if I make a total fool of myself? Which is a big fear. And what if my whole life just collapses in on itself? I didn't live on that one for too long, but you know, I got there. And then the ever-looming YouTube algorithm that I must bow to, as every creator on YouTube to be successful must do too. Or so I was told. These were very real things to me. This is what kind of held me back a little bit, but ultimately I pushed forward because I'm someone who believes in the just say yes method. So if something is kind of scary or exciting or challenging or whatever it might be, to just say yes, to try it out, give it a go, see what happens. Like going to a new restaurant and tasting the wildest thing on the menu. Just go for it. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. You'll never know if you don't try. So I said yes to myself to do this. Starting a YouTube channel is the perfect candidate for this. It pushed me out of my comfort zone and might help me actually get used to listening to the sound of my own voice, because as most people are, I'm one of those as well where I can't stand it. Because this is a couple of videos in, I've just started off and it has been a terrifying experience and it has been a challenging experience, but it's also been a very rewarding experience because I'm just looking to make the difference in one person's life. Again, to help people get time back that can be used on something much more valuable than a pointless meeting or an endless meeting, or somewhere that's not going somewhere where they can get time back for their family, or to do a hobby that they wanted to try out, or even take a breather, just to sit back and take it handy for a while. That's what I want the reward from my channel to be: time given back. I pulled the trigger, as I mentioned, and now this is the final stage, was trying to figure out what I was actually going to be delivering. And I was hemming and hawing about this quite a bit, and I was going back and forth, and I couldn't quite figure out exactly what I wanted to do. I know the target that I wanted to go for. Anybody in the professional field, who, whether they're self-employed, whether they work individually, if they work in a team, if they work in a startup and they're looking to generate ideas or push forward or figure out the next year of strategy and mapping and planning, or if they're even in a big corporate where they might be trying to figure out the best way to bond and communicate better as a team or amongst departments. I'm looking to share to any of those who are looking to find better ways of working for themselves. And in my channel, in different videos, I'll be sharing how to better problem solve, how to boost working relationships with different disciplines. So as me as a designer, I'll be doing videos on how best to work with software developers, with product managers, with marketing, with the leadership level. I'll also be going through ideation techniques, workshop tips and tricks, how to make better use of meetings, and the occasional software tutorial. I'm excited and I'm terrified, but ultimately I'm very, very much looking forward to going on this journey for both of us, because I think we both win. If I can pass on my message and then you can take on something, then I've done my job here. If this does appeal to you, make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you all for joining, and I'll see you in the next one.